Welcome to FireWatch. I'm your host, Ronald Campbell. This month, the Raleigh Fire Department is gearing up to participate in the annual Fill the Boot campaign with the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Joining me today to talk about the campaign is fundraising coordinator, Amber Toy. Amber, thanks for joining us on FireWatch.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Okay, so before we start talking about the Fill the Boot campaign, let's talk about muscular dystrophy and the Muscular Dystrophy Association. What is muscular dystrophy?
So it's a disease that affects anyone, any age, basically, from an infant to an elderly person. It's where the neural pathways don't always talk to each other. So it affects a number of things. Could be muscles around your heart, around your lungs, your legs, anything.
So obviously there's not a cure for muscular dystrophy. That's why you're doing all the fundraising. Is it just muscular dystrophy that your association is working to eradicate, or are there other diseases as well?
What we do is we help to bring awareness to 43 different diseases, neuromuscular diseases. And it's, we have clinics at Duke and Chapel Hill that it's anything from, different PTs and OTs, and, it's a chance for them to go and just be seen by the best of the best. That's when they're going to find out different treatments, different, ways that we can try to help slow it down.
Now, when we think about muscular dystrophy, you talked about that it can affect anyone at any age. Is it typically something that presents itself early in a person's life, or can it present itself at any point in a person's life?
At any point. We do have different types of disease that will affect them when they're born, all the way through their adulthood.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Muscular Dystrophy Association now. A little bit of an understanding about the disease itself. What does the association do?
So we have several services that we offer. We have our Raleigh district covers 18 counties, anything from all the way to the Virginia border, all the way down to Fayetteville to Southern Pines. So we are all over kind of the Piedmont. We also have a Wilmington office. There's a Greensboro and a Charlotte office. So we cover a vast group. Here in the Raleigh area, we've got about 2,500 families, and we do a couple different things. We have clinics, like I was mentioning, at Duke at Chapel Hill, and it's a chance for our families to see the best of the best. It's kind of a one-stop shop, basically. Instead of going to appointments all throughout the week, they can just go to this one place, and they tend to spend a couple hours there. But they are being seen by occupational therapists, speech therapists, a number of different folks. Then we also have a loan closet. So, unfortunately, the insurance companies don't always cover everything. So what will happen is our families every single year will start with an allotment, a certain amount of money that, if they need their wheelchair repaired, braces, walkers, things like that, any sort of durable medical equipment, they will call us and say, we've got this going on, can you guys help us? So then we will do what we can to help. In the meantime, we will provide them with a wheelchair or whatever equipment they need. We also have support groups. So this is a chance for any of our families newly diagnosed or families that have been diagnosed or just trying to connect with other families and saying, this treatment's working, this is not working, I'm frustrated, this is helping me. So we really try to connect them together to help them get what they're looking for. Sometimes it's just a social thing. And then we also have summer camps, which is right around the corner. That is a week long, and it's at Campaigns, which is in King, North Carolina. And we partner with them. It is a chance for kids just to be a kid. They don't have to go to doctor's appointments, and they can just have fun. And we provide someone one-on-one. So it's about $800 a week. And the reason why it's so expensive is everything's adaptable. They can go horseback riding. There's a zip line. There's a swimming pool. Fishing. So we've got a volunteer that'll be with all of our kids throughout the entire week. So that's another great service.
So you guys really just serve as a real clearinghouse for all of these families in the area for anything they may need, not just for medical treatment related to muscular dystrophy, but just to anything, just to needing a social outlet. You guys really do a little bit of everything.
That's exactly right.
So I think most people are familiar with the Labor Day telethon for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, but clearly you guys are much more than that. How did the Muscular Dystrophy Association start with this Fill the Boot campaign? How did fire departments get tied into this?
We have been working with the fire departments for 61 years. In total, the fire department has raised over $500 million for MDA, which is huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's fire departments around the country.
That is all around the country. In the state of North Carolina, last year alone, the fire departments helped us raise $404,000.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
For fire departments around the state to do. So for 61 years, that predates the Labor Day telethon.
It sure
doesn't
does.
it?
It sure does. That's exactly right.
I had no idea that the Fill the Boot campaign's been going on longer than that. That's fantastic. So when you talk about fire departments, how do you guys partner with fire departments? Do they reach out to you? Do you reach out to them? Do they set their schedules? Because we're doing it in the month of June here in Raleigh.
Right.
How's that decided?
Basically, that's kind of what my job is. I go out and visit these different fire departments, and it's union and non-union, and talk to them a little bit about who we are, ask them to get involved, and they're always so excited. You know, they're just ready to get out there and help and do the things that they can do for us. They actually set their schedule. They start anywhere from April and go all the way through September. We work with them to sometimes set up with, you know, we call it a big box store like a Walmart or a Target, things like that. But we also have fire departments that go out in the street. You'll see them at intersections. You know, and with the Raleigh Fire Department, we've got 3 different dates set: June 8th, June 25th, and July 1st. And we've got about 3 different locations for all of those dates. And what'll happen is shift A will go out for, you know, 4 hours, shift B, and they'll kind of, they'll move through that way, through the different departments around the city.
So basically, folks here in Raleigh can expect to see firefighters with boots in their hands.
Absolutely.
In the month of June, asking for money in certain locations.
That's
and
exactly
it's completely
right.
above board. It's completely legitimate.
Absolutely.
And we're raising the money for the association. How is the money then, when it goes to the association? You know, people ask us all the time, where's the money going? For people watching, where does the money go?
100% of the money that is raised goes right to MDA, 100%. And we actually have one of the highest, average 77 cents of every dollar goes right to our services. That's one of the highest for any nonprofit that you'll see around. And it stays local. So a lot of organizations will collect the money, send it back to national, which is fine. But any money that is raised in the Raleigh district stays right here in Raleigh and helps our local families. And that's one of the best things that you can ask for.
So Amber, if somebody wants to get involved with the association more than just putting money in a boot when they see us out here in a couple of weeks, how could somebody get involved?
All they need to do is give us a call at the office, 783-0222. Go on our website, mda.org. Then you can just follow links to the Raleigh district. As I was mentioning, our summer camp, all of the people that are paired up with our with the youth are our volunteers. So they're dedicating a week of their vacation after they graduate, you know, high school, college, whatever. So that's a good way. We have a lot of people that come into our office that help us make phone calls. There's a tons of ways.
Now you mentioned that all of the money that's raised locally stays locally to help local families. You brought with you today a local family, and when we come back from the break, we're going to talk to this young lady and just see what the association's meant to her and how that money has gone to help her become a recent high school graduate and looking forward to the next phase of her life.
That's great.
Amber, thanks for joining us on FireWatch today, and good luck with the campaign.
Thank you very much.
A single ember from a wildfire can travel over a mile. That ember can ignite and destroy your home or community. You can't control where that ember will land. Only what happens before it does. Visit fireadapted.org to learn how you can help protect your community from wildfires.
Welcome back to FireWatch. We're joined now by North Carolina State Goodwill Ambassador for the Muscular Dystrophy Association, Lauren Ashley. Lauren, thanks for joining us here on FireWatch.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you're the State Goodwill Ambassador. What does that mean?
I go around and I give speeches and events and everything like that. But one of my goals in life is to change the world. And I think that the MDA has provided me with the tools I need to start. And just being able to help change these kids' lives is really important to me.
You have muscular dystrophy.
Yes.
How long have you had MD?
I have myasthenia gravis, and I was diagnosed 3 years ago.
Okay, so tell us about myasthenia gravis? I don't even think I said that right, but what is that?
Myasthenia gravis stands for grave muscle weakness. So it improves after periods of rest and gets worse after periods of activity and stuff like that. And it's basically my voluntary muscles get really weak, so it affects my breathing. I get slurred speech sometimes, droopy eyes, and things like that.
Okay. Now, you said you were diagnosed with that 3 years ago.
Yes.
But that's not the only battle you've been fighting in your life. Tell us what else you've been fighting.
I was born with cerebral palsy, so I've grown up with having that and stuff like that. And then I think 2012, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, and I had to have my thyroid taken out. And that's actually how they figured out that I had myasthenia gravis, because right after surgery, I couldn't walk and stuff like that, or do like really anything, so they thought I had a stroke, and then they realized that I have myasthenia gravis.
Wow, so you've been fighting basically severe medical issues your entire life.
Yeah.
And you're only 17 years old, correct?
Yes.
So you've been fighting a very long time. Tell us a little bit, though, about the Muscular Dystrophy Association here in Raleigh. Now, we're getting ready to do the Fill the Boot campaign, and all the money stays local. What has it meant to you to have the association here in Raleigh, and what has it done for you?
Well, when I was first diagnosed, I just had moved to North Carolina, and I didn't have like friends or people here really yet, so I felt really alone. But through the MDA, I was actually able to do things like go to plays, meet other kids. Like camp has been a really big thing for me. It's a week, and it's all kids just like me, basically, and we all get to hang out and have fun, and it's just really nice. And then last year, I was actually in the hospital in a rehab because I was too weak to walk. And I spent my 17th birthday in rehab, and the MDA provided me with a power wheelchair so I could get around and feel independent. So.
Well, now, when you were hospitalized last year, you were telling me that you were supposed to give a speech at the South Atlantic Fire and Rescue Expo, but you were unable to do that because of your hospitalization. But you didn't let that stop you from delivering your speech, because what did you do? Tell us what you did.
I wrote the speech in the hospital, and I sent it to the MDA so somebody else could read it for me.
And I heard that it was very well received at the conference that year. So you didn't let being hospitalized for your 17th birthday slow you down from working to continue to change the world. No. You truly have a lot of good goals set out ahead of you. You just recently graduated high school, correct?
Yes.
So that's one item off the checklist checked. What are the plans now? What are you going to do next?
I'm going to High Point University. I'm going to study communications, and I hope to continue what I'm doing to be able to change the world. I just actually became the Shriners Amarin ambassador as well. So I'm hoping I can pair Shriners and the MDA together, and we can do events. I actually have one event right now that's in the works. I want to make all the kids feel special. And so I'm working right now getting teen stars, celebrities and stuff. We actually have a few already agreed, but I want to have a red carpet and pair a celebrity with a kid, because I think they all deserve to feel like stars.
Well, Lauren, you truly are a remarkable young lady, and you got clear goals ahead of you, and you truly are trying to change the world. And I think you're remarkable, and I think the world could use more kids like you. So good luck to you in the future, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us on FireWatch.
Mom, can we get some ice cream?
Please, Mom, please.
No, we're having dinner soon.
Please.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls. But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys know statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to make sure your child is protected.
Welcome back to FireWatch. I'm your host, Ronald Campbell. With the 4th of July rapidly approaching, many folks here in Raleigh would like to celebrate the holiday by using consumer fireworks. Joining us today to talk about consumer fireworks is Assistant Fire Marshal Tim Henshaw. Tim, thanks for joining us again on FireWatch.
Thanks for having me here, Ron.
Okay, so consumer fireworks, what kind of things are legal here in the city of Raleigh in North Carolina?
Well, to start out with, there's sparklers or shower emitting devices. They cannot leave the ground, they cannot be of high decibel, and they can't really skip around. So typically you're talking about a shower emitting type device.
Okay. Now, these that I'm holding, they look like bottle rockets, something that would leave the ground, but when we tested them earlier, they really don't. They just stick in the ground and produce a sparkler effect.
Yeah, they're basically a ground-mounted sparkler.
Okay. And as far as firecrackers go, a lot of folks like firecrackers. Are those legal?
Firecrackers are not legal. They're over the decibel rating, and they do leave the ground and can be tossed, so those are prohibited in the state of North Carolina.
With things that leave the ground being illegal in North Carolina, how can that be enforced? If someone goes across the border to another state, gets something that's not legal in North Carolina, what could happen to that resident if they so choose to do that?
Well, they could be charged a number of ways. If they're stopped by the Highway Patrol coming into the state, the Highway Patrol could charge them for transport across the state line and through the state of North Carolina of federally controlled, basically firework. Locally, if they set that firework off at their home or at a party type event and an injury could occur or a brush fire from some of the sparks, the police, the fire investigators could come out and charges could be placed on an individual that lit that device.
So if I do choose to use the fireworks that are legal here in North Carolina, what are some of the safest ways to do that?
Well, the safest ways are always to start at the store. All the stores here in Raleigh are permitted, and so we check those fireworks to make sure they're legal. Then when you take them home, make sure that you're having people that are over the age of 18 light these on a non-combustible surface, so such as a concrete pad, pavement. We don't want these out in the brush, the mulch, and things like that. And make sure that you're using a lighter type device and not a match or something where you have to get really close to it. And you know, stand back, and if you have a garden hose or a fire extinguisher, have that near you.
Okay. Now, we've talked about things that are legal for folks to use, ways that they can use them safely, but really our best recommendation is that folks go to a professional fireworks show. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the safest way. Burn injuries can result, even if you're using these devices safely. They burn at a very high temperature. So going to a professional show where it's permitted, you have professional contractors that are licensed and insured and trained. They put on a beautiful show for you, and you know the environment where you can spectate from and view those fireworks is safe and free from danger.
Now, when you talk about professional contractors who come in and do these professional fireworks demonstrations, what things does the Raleigh Fire Department do to make sure that these fireworks shows are as safe as possible?
Well, we start from the permit application. Those contractors would have to file an application with us, and that starts the whole way from transport, from where they make the product into the city of Raleigh. We make sure the truck is correct, the driver's license are correct, the whole way into the actual fireworks shooting site, where we go on to inspect the racks, the installation of the fireworks. Up until the shoot point, we are there regulating them and ensuring that everything is in line with all the safety guidelines.
And then once the show actually begins, what do you do to make sure that if there is a misfire, that's taken care of?
Basically, at all of our shows, we have a standby fire engine with firefighters that are trained to respond to burn injuries and or spot fires. The folks that are setting off the devices are wearing protective clothing. They have fire extinguishing equipment and are trained to respond to those initial emergencies. And we make sure that that area is clear. The code requires a certain distance around the actual fireworks display site where they're launched from. And that area is clear with the exception of the folks that are lighting it to ensure that we don't have any spectators or guests that are in that area.
Now, you mentioned the code requires this, so these aren't just City of Raleigh requirements, this is North Carolina Fire Code requirements.
Yes, and many of the requirements that we're using are not only adopted here in North Carolina, they're adopted in at least 48 states and internationally. So they're set practices and they're respected internationally. So we're not doing anything here that's locally out of the normal, so the contractors are well prepared and well able to meet that.
So now that we've got these consumer fireworks and we're going to light them, what are some steps that we need to do to make sure that before we ever even approach the firework that we're going to light, that it's in as safest environment as possible?
Well, you want to look around at the surroundings. You want to make sure that the folks that are going to be lighting the device itself haven't been consuming alcohol or anything like that. You want to make sure that you're prepared enough to deal with this device if anything should occur. So clearing the space, all the combustibles around you, and finding that appropriate location where there's no trees, vegetation around, a non-combustible surface, and that there's not tree branches above your head that the shower could hit.
So Tim, when we look at these consumer fireworks that we have here, what are the ways that we need to go through lighting these fireworks and then making sure that they're disposed of properly? Let's start with the one that you have in your right hand. It's called the rain dance. How do we do that one?
Okay, so first off, we always recommend reading the instruction manual on the package itself, and in this case, the lid is taped down, and we can see here it says tear off lid before lighting. When we cut the tape and open this lid up, it'll actually produce a fuse, and the fuse is labeled. So that's where we know exactly where we're supposed to light it. So not from a corner, not from the top, not with the top down, but that actual fuse. So following the directions is a good place to start. We remove that fuse, and then that's when we can set the device down on a non-combustible surface to light it.
A good flat non-combustible surface.
A good flat non-combustible surface. You don't want to put this on top of a charcoal grill or on a lid or on somebody's chair. You want to make sure that it's down on the ground.
Okay. And what about the one in your left hand here? How do we go about lighting that one?
This is a little bit easier to see. It's got a rubber mounted base here. You can also see the fuse is taped down. Once again, following the instruction, we'd remove that piece of tape, tab that fuse up, and we'd set that square on the base.
And these mini rocket fountains, now these look a lot like sparklers, and when you read the instruction on these, it says to make sure you remove the cap for lighting and to not hold it in your hand. Because I guess once you stick it in the ground and then you light it, the shower of sparks that come down could land on your skin and cause a burn injury. Is that correct?
We have to remember that these are burning over 1,000 degrees. So if your hand is here and those sparks, when they're emitted, fall down, can cause a burn injury to your hand and to your arm. And so that's why it's very important, like you said, to read those instructions, remove the cap correctly, see the fuse, and plant that into the ground.
And I want to just go back and mention another thing too, that you talked about making sure that you're over the age of 18 to use fireworks that are legal in North Carolina. I think that's just something that really needs to be stressed, because I see a lot of times around the 4th of July, parents will light sparklers and give them to their children because they're colorful and they're pretty, without the parents realizing that because these sparklers get over 1,000 degrees, they could cause significant burn injuries to their children. That's just something we need to really hammer home, I think.
Yeah, we need to think about that. Sparklers have been around for a long time. Most people feel very comfortable around a sparkler, but when you think about those ignition temperatures and the actual temperatures of those sparks, it will surprise you that the temperatures in your oven are way lower than what you're seeing with that sparkler.
Tim, once you light the firework that you're using and it begins to emit sparks, what should you do then? Just obviously, I guess you would want to step as far back as possible and to watch the firework.
You want to step back as far as possible. Most of these, a 3x6 clear area around it is sufficient. But yes, you want to step back, and even when you're lighting it, make sure that you kneel down. A lot of these devices are smaller. They're not at a height where I could light it standing up. So kneel down and reach your arm out. At no time do you want to put your face or any body part over any of the trajectory areas, which in this case would be the top of this device, the top of this device. You want to kneel down and light. That way, if the device reacts quicker to your lighting mechanism, that you won't be in danger.
And once the firework has been used, what then? How do you dispose of it properly?
Well, what we don't want to do is we don't want to rush off. Once the spark is done being emitted, don't run up and grab it. Once again, we talked about how hot this is. This device will retain heat inside. So if you can leave that right there on that non-combustible surface for a little while so that it can cool down adequately, that's very appropriate. Throwing it straight into the trash can or running it up and picking it up could lead to injuries and or burns.
So again, Tim, we really do appreciate you coming on FireWatch to talk to us about these consumer fireworks. There are some that are legal in North Carolina, but again, our recommendation from the Fire Marshal's office is to go see a professional show, correct?
That's correct.
All right, well, Tim, thanks a lot, and hope you have a great 4th of July with your family.
Thank you.
My dad is my hero. He goes into places people want to get away from. He makes everyone safe. but the best thing he can do is come home.
The U.S. Fire Administration reminds you to protect yourself and firefighters. Have smoke alarms on every level and near sleeping areas. Test them monthly. Change batteries as instructed. Install sprinklers. Do your part to get out before firefighters have to come in.
Now, come on. All right, I know, 2 seconds. Hang on, just stand still. Stand still, love. 1 second. I know. Just I know. Okay, good. Okay, go, go, go. No. Boys, hang on, boys.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Whether on a water slide, a diving board, a pool, a beach, or a lake, swimming is a great summer activity that can be enjoyed by your entire family. To make sure though that your family has a safe and happy summer in the water, make sure you follow these few water safety tips. Before using such fun equipment as a diving board or a water slide, be sure that everyone in your family knows how to swim well and that the water is deep enough to safely dive into. Be sure to know when to call 911 in the event of an emergency. Remember, in a water incident, seconds do count. And another tip is to make sure that you drink plenty of water while at the pool. Avoid drinks with caffeine and alcohol in them if you possibly can, and whatever you do, leave the glass bottles at home. If you have a pool at your home, make sure to secure it with the appropriate barriers. A lot of times children will drown because they can easily slip into a pool undetected. By having a gate and a fence around your pool, you can limit this chance. The most important safety tip is to swim in designated areas supervised by lifeguards. Never let children swim unattended or only attended by another child. Children should always be attended by a responsible adult, someone who is always watching the water. For more information about pool safety, you can visit the American Red Cross or Save Kids Worldwide.